Artificial intelligence will take our jobs. Artificial intelligence will create amazing new jobs. Artificial intelligence will undermine education. Artificial intelligence will transform education into something completely different than we know today. Artificial intelligence will strangle creativity. Artificial intelligence will fuel new creativity. Regardless of your opinion on questions like that, we can all agree that artificial intelligence and automation are transforming not only the airline industry, but really all industries in the world. I would venture to say that every company in this room is exploring how automation and/or artificial intelligence can grow their revenue, reduce expenses, improve the customer experience, or any number of other things. And if you're not, you're probably behind your competitors. My name is John Murphy. I'm the president of ATPCo's core business, and I'm going to talk for the next few minutes about the fuel of AI and automation, and that's data. But first, since I'm and Melanie are the last two speakers of the afternoon, and it looks like we've got a little bit of post-lunch jet lag going on, I'm going to have to wake everybody up. So if everybody could stand up for a minute. Get the blood going just for a moment. That's right. I'm going to count to 3, and everybody's going to yell, "Data!" All right? 1, 2, 3. Data! That was all right. That was just okay. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Data! All right, let's go. Okay, everybody can sit down. I had to get the blood moving just a little bit in here. Economist magazine said that the world's most valuable resource is no longer oil, but data. According to a survey by MIT's Sloan Management, 9 out of 10 companies surveyed, organizations surveyed, believe that artificial intelligence will give them competitive advantage. But only 10% of those companies said that their artificial intelligence initiatives were actually yielding significant value. What was the difference between the 10% and the 90% that had these programs in place? The difference was access to the data that they needed in order to make a difference, in order to drive results. The science is difficult. There are a lot of people pursuing it, but without the data, it is almost impossible to generate value out of the science. Automation and artificial intelligence reinforce each other. They reinforce the need for more and more real-time data. Rick, I'm surprised, didn't tell you what 3 Victors stands for. The 3 V's in 3 Victors stand for volume, variety, and velocity, which refer to the dimensions or the attributes of the data that's necessary to drive results in artificial intelligence. You need more data, more variety of data, and higher velocity data, meaning real-time data, to drive those results. I loved the Hit It presentation just a few minutes ago. That really made the connection between where an industry organization like ATPCO can play a role in driving the science and driving the data necessary in order to generate results using artificial intelligence and using automation. Organizations like ATPCO are not unique in that there are many industries that have organizations that are industry-owned, that are responsible for collecting, curating, partnering, driving data for the benefit of the entire industry. Having access to industry-wide data sets is a very important part of feeding automation and artificial intelligence, and there are a lot of great reasons why this is the case. It drives better decision-making, it helps us better understand the market, you're able to do more benchmarking and performance analysis for the organization's results, you can make better investment decisions, innovation and development are possible around that data, risk management, policy formulation, strategic planning. This is just a partial list. Industry data sets are a valuable part of how any industry understands itself, makes decisions, takes risks, does new things, invests in themselves, and invests in their customers. ATPCO and these other industry organizations are finding new life in how artificial intelligence and automation use cases are driving the need for industry data sets. This is not theoretical. We know that the airline industry is going through a transformation. How do we know this? From the maturity matrix that you've seen in a couple of the other presentations, but we actually see results. We actually see real airlines making progress, moving up the maturity matrix, up from the bottom left to the top right. The bottom axis is price maturity, the vertical axis is product maturity, and we see airlines 31 have disappeared from the bottom left of that box, and 34 new airlines are moved up and to the right in that square. So it's not theoretical. We know that airlines are moving up and to the right. They're transforming the way that they do business. They're pursuing dynamic offers and orders. They're pursuing new ways to interact with their customers. And they have new conversations daily with ATPCO about the needs of the data that they need in order to drive their organizations. Effective dynamic pricing and modern airline retailing require comprehensive industry data sets in addition to the data that you collect yourselves about the travelers and your operations and your ability for your revenue management plans to be successful. Getting this data and being able to use it effectively is not easy. So let's start with a poll. Which statement best describes your current data situation? You can use the app from select the session. There'll be a link there for the poll. But which describes your current situation? You have all the data you need. Your organization has all the data you need, but you can't get to it. The data you need is out there, the industry is in the industry, but you just can't get to it. Or the data that you need, as far as you know, doesn't exist anywhere yet. Give just a moment. I like the top category. I like the I have all the data I need category. There are always people in that quadrant, and they're not wrong. It just means that they haven't gotten to the point yet that they recognize that they don't have everything they need. They may have everything they need for today, but I guarantee you they don't have everything they need for tomorrow. As Rick said in the session earlier, this space is evolving so quickly, it is next to impossible to try and keep up. Why is it so difficult for industry data sets to come together, for even within your own organizations to access data within your own companies? Data tends to be stuck in silos between teams. One team may not even know that the other team has the data. They may have difficulty asking for the data or getting the data in a form that they can use it. The quality of the data may be suspect. How old is the data? Is it comprehensive? Did they filter the data and drop information out for their own use that you may find valuable for your use? Is the data incomplete in a way that could have been augmented if they had access to other data so that they could create a more valuable data set by taking data from multiple places and putting it together? Oftentimes, even within an organization or between partners or between joint venture partners, security concerns and a lack of governance over the data create barriers to sharing that data. There are many other barriers, but these are some of the most common. My main point in this presentation is that ATPCO exists to solve this problem. ATPCO, Alex Zoglin, at the very beginning of the day, said that our value proposition hasn't changed, but how we provide that value proposition changes. I'm not just talking about fares and rules and routings and fees and charges and those things. Those things will continue to exist at ATPCO as long as there is a need in the industry for those to exist. But we are also exploring new industry data sets, new ways of providing value to you all that include data that is driving the next generation of airline retailing and offer and order systems, and that is happening today. ATPCO, we believe, is in an ideal position to curate, to assemble, to enrich, to partner, to make industry-wide data sets that are relevant to revenue management, that drive more effective offers and better results for everybody in the ecosystem. There are many opportunities where industry data can drive what is important to you all in revenue management and pricing. Offer optimization is an important area of work that many airlines are looking at, and vendors. Having comprehensive and accurate competitive data that is linked not just to price, but to all the ancillary services that were purchased at that price, having that competitive data is an important part for artificial intelligence and automation in the future, and what 3Victors is working on providing using shopping data. Improved revenue management forecasting and moving from constrained to unconstrained demand forecasting is an important area of research. Industry data sets can help airlines understand the important difference between an unconstrained view of the world and the constrained view of the world, and use both of those to improve the bottom line. More accurate willingness to pay calculations, and for segments beyond business and leisure, we can segment the market much more effectively with this kind of data. Improved demand forecasting, more accurate, finer resolution. Shopping data, again, plays an important part in that. And product performance insights. How do we improve channel strategies? How do we improve channel quality control? How do we support product mix and optimization of that product mix? How do we improve servicing and better automate those servicing opportunities? How do we measure the ROI of the marketing efforts that we do, not just from the airline perspective, but from an industry perspective? There are use cases in network planning, there are use cases in consumer behavior modeling. All of these can be enabled by using rich data sets that not only include your view of the world, but an industry-wide view of the world. ATPCO brings several unique attributes to data collection. We don't just bring data in and ship it out without looking at it, without touching it. ATPCO believes that data refinement and consolidation are an important part of the equation, that we can clean up the data, that we can remove duplicates when we get similar data from different sources, that we can identify what is truth, we can remove unneeded elements for certain use cases so that you can get access to the data and only the data that you need. Data consolidation means taking multiple sources of data and integrating them together for a common purpose. We do that today in many of our products. Data transformation and assembly means putting complex pieces together. Think ATPCO's assembled data product, where we assemble the fares and the rules and the attributes together to get a picture of the market that would otherwise require a lot of work on your sides to put that data together. Data augmentation. We often get data that has missing elements. There is a lot of science, both using AI and traditional techniques, for how we can look at one data source to improve the quality of another data source, how we can infer what data is missing and provide most likely answers to the missing attributes of the data. So how do we make this work? What are the important attributes of data sharing with ATPCO? Number one, I think, is transparency. Transparency ensures that all airlines understand what they have access to and how the data is actually being used. Without that transparency, it's very difficult for ATPCO to make an argument that as an industry organization, you all are in the driver's seat. Airline data ownership is the other key piece. ATPCO is airline owned, and the data that we use to create the products and services that we provide and share with the industry maintains that ownership even at ATPCO. The cost reduction and standardization component is also very important. All of you need data in order to drive your initiatives, even if you're not doing AI yet, even if you're just looking at simple automation, how you're automating servicing, or any one of a number of other things. Why are we all doing those efforts independently with holes in the data, with blinders on in terms of the scope of the data, and doing it just looking at our own data? There is huge opportunity to understand more and more about the industry and the secret sauce that you all can put on top of the data when you have a holistic view of what's available. So ATPCO provides the opportunity to leverage network economics, if you will, to provide that data to one place for us to consolidate it, to refine it, to get it to a state where it can be used to cleanly train models in artificial intelligence, to cleanly be used to import into back office processing, to be used to gather competitive insights, to understand what is selling in a market, what is for sale in a market, how it's settled, et cetera. Those network economics of having one source and many consumers of the data work in our favor. So I would ask yourself, what's the biggest concern that you all have individually? What is your biggest data need? What do you wish you had access to? What would fundamentally drive innovation and progress as you go through a modern retailing transformation, or build an offer system, or partner with a vendor to provide a dynamic offer system? What's the biggest opportunity in your organization? What is your data strategy? One of the earlier presenters answered the question. I can't remember the exact question, but the answer was know your data strategy. Know what you're trying to achieve. Understand how you can improve that. Understand how you can excel and where you might have data gaps, and where an organization like ATPCO can help you procure the data and provide that to your organization. Trying to assemble required data sources individually is expensive and is fraught with challenges. ATPCO, as an industry-owned and data-centric company, we believe is the ideal choice to help the industry solve its data needs. Excuse me. So we ask ourselves these questions every day. I would encourage you to think about that problem and to approach, whether it's your sales executive, whether it's myself or one of the other ATPCO team members, if you have needs that you think that ATPCO can help solve in the future, we would love to hear your perspective. We would love to hear what problems are challenging you, and we would love to talk to you about how ATPCO can be a part of that solution. Speaking of data, I would like to welcome to the stage Melanie Desilak, another another data nerd in addition to myself, who's going to talk about a new product that ATPCO has been working on called Product Catalog, which has been mentioned a few times. But we believe that Product Catalog provides many of the opportunities that I've talked about over the last few minutes, and Melanie is going to give a good introduction to Product Catalog in preparation for the session tomorrow. So, Melanie?
It's so awesome to be with you guys here today, and I want to tell you just how honored I am to present the Product Catalog. I do want to warn you, though, today I'm just going to give you a very high-level introduction on the value that the Product Catalog can provide, and tomorrow's sessions will have all the detail. So today is just a little sneak peek, if you will. All right, before we get started, let's define a product catalog. What is it? We hear about it all the time, we talk about it all the time, but how do we define it? ATPCO defines the catalog as an electronic record of potential products and services that an airline or third party might offer. Now, the catalog has three key things that it will enable. Three key items that I want to draw your attention to. First and foremost, it's going to enable that separation of product from price. So airlines will no longer have to pre-file every permutation of product and price. Instead, they'll be able to define their products separately, and then the catalog will enable price determination to happen at time of shopping. And that price price determination could be using traditional methods as we have today, or it could use new science-based methods that we see coming now and as we move into the future. The third thing that the catalog is going to enable is going to be moving settlement data up to the time of shopping. And that will better enable the offer creation process if the settlement data is known at time of shopping, and it will help enable the NDC interline solution. So 3 key things that the catalog will enable. Now, I do just want to point out the product catalog is not just about the end state future. The catalog can provide value now to every airline in this room, regardless of where you are on your dynamic offers journey. We know, we recognize, and we heard earlier today that we are going to need to live in both worlds. The industry is going to need to live in the traditional world and the dynamic world for quite some time to come. I think we heard earlier today the estimate was 10 to 15 years that we may need to live in both worlds. Therefore, that means we need new data structures to support our living in both worlds, and we need seamless interoperability between the traditional and the dynamic worlds in order to enable our transition. And the product catalog will serve as a bridge to enable that transition from the traditional to the dynamic worlds. That bridge and that value applies to every airline in the room, regardless of where you are on your journey. Airlines, within your own organization, if you're dependent on traditional data, but you're also starting to explore dynamic offers initiatives, you're going to need that interoperability between both worlds within your own organization. Airlines that have not yet started your dynamic offers journey, but want to connect with an interline partner who has already begun their journey, you're also going to need that interoperable connection between your partners. So you need that bridge to enable that transition between both worlds. So we know we're going to have to live in both worlds, but we recognize that there's a challenge today with the data. There's a data disconnect between the traditional world and the dynamic world. So that data disconnect causes some problems. First of all, it causes some problems in data maintenance efficiencies. Airlines do not want to have to maintain data in 2 places. You don't want to do dual maintenance in both the traditional and the dynamic worlds for the next 10 to 15 years. That's inefficient, it's time-consuming, it's costly. The second issue we see with data disconnect is customized solutions. Airlines are being forced to look into implementing customized solutions or bilateral connections every time they introduce a new partnership. That is costly, that is complex, and that limits your scalability. Thirdly, we see that this data disconnect is going to cause problems with the offer itself, where you're creating less optimal offers, or you have less personalized offers. So this disconnect is a challenge. So we know we need to live in both worlds for quite some time. We know there's a challenge with the data disconnect, so how can we solve this? We predict that we need an industry solution. So what we need is a way to have a unified approach where we create an industry solution to solve that issue of data disconnect. We need the ability to have data translated across both worlds and function seamlessly and function with no disruption. So we suggest and we propose that ATPCO can provide a consistent, standard data exchange solution. So consistency and standards with a data exchange solution of product catalog data that will enable us to build that bridge between the traditional world and the dynamic world and enable that transition. That will provide us with the streamlined data sharing so that you're able to share your data regardless of the offer creation platform that you're using. That will support economies of scale efficiencies so that ATPCO can build the solution once and it works for everyone in the industry. It will support our pro-competitive mission, where ATPCO is serving as a third-party neutral data exchange solution provider, as we do today. As you all know, today, in this world, ATPCO already provides all of the data that you need for traditional offers, and we will continue to provide that solution as we move into the future. Except that today, we have a world where we distribute fares and rules. In the future, we're going to have a world where we distribute new sets of data. Product catalog data, for example, where we have supplier airlines that need to share their potential product offerings with retailer airlines across the globe, across every potential retailer that they want to communicate with. Where we have airlines that need to share potential product offerings with sellers and aggregators. ATPCO will function as that neutral third-party data exchange provider where we enable accuracy and consistency of your data across all areas where it's being used. So, did you know, airlines, you already have a basis for a product catalog. It's already there. So, we've said we have the need to operate in both worlds. We've said that ATPCO can provide a data exchange solution. As an airline, you're almost there. You've got a basis for a catalog with your traditional fares and rules data that you've already defined today. So what ATPCO is doing is we are building an automated solution to take all of your traditional data and translate that into product catalog data. So that gives you a baseline catalog to start with. And you can imagine for all 450 plus airlines that we have today as an ATPCO customer, we can create product catalog solutions for them immediately to give you a basis as a starting point. Now, by doing that, that means we're taking your fares, your rules, your optional services, your amenities, and your brands. We are converting them to catalog data by removing the price. We're separating product from price. So we're removing the price, we are boiling it down to products, and we're populating the catalog in that standardized data exchange format. And we're doing something else really exciting. So not only are we creating the catalog, but we're building an interoperable link between your current traditional data and your catalog data. So what does that mean? An interoperable link between current data and catalog data. That means that every time you update your traditional data, we will automatically update your catalog data for you and keep them in sync. So that resolves the challenge of having to maintain data in two places, and you're able to maintain it once. And we will ensure that the data is kept in sync across your traditional and your catalog data. It resolves the issue of bilateral connections because we're creating a standard data format and an interoperable link between the two to give you that bridge for the transition. So, pretty cool, I think. All right, so what does that mean for airlines? For airlines that are already using dynamic offers, so you're already using dynamic offers, the catalog can give you that bridge now between your traditional and your dynamic data. So if you're struggling today with your dynamic offers and trying to live in both worlds between traditional and dynamic, you're able to let ATPCO build the catalog for you, maintain the interoperable link for you, and that will help ease your transition as you move forward. From an offer creation side, that will enable you to sync your data so you can make sure that your catalog data is synced to your fares and rules. So if you're selecting data from the catalog, you're able to know which fares and rules support it behind the scenes. It will help with interoperability with your interline partners, and it will help you move forward into creating more customized, relevant offers for the consumer. You'll be able to select products that the consumer actually wants to purchase, and you've got links and data synced behind the scenes to the traditional fares and rules for as long as you need them. This means that each airline will be able to step into dynamic offers at its own pace while still having that interoperable link behind the scenes. Now, If you're an airline that has not started dynamic offers, and it applies to quite a few number of airlines in the world, if you have not started on your journey to dynamic offers, the catalog can still provide value for you today. Even if you haven't begun your offer, allow ATPCO to take your traditional data, convert it into catalog data, and you can use it as a type of analytical tool. So you'll be able to view your data as in a product format that will help you jumpstart your strategy, that will help you get ready for dynamic offers. You'll be able to see how your data shapes up in a catalog format, and maybe you want to rearrange your brand structures a little bit. You'll be able to introduce new products. Maybe you've been thinking of introducing a new product that's not supported in the traditional world today, and you can put it in the catalog and start experimenting and testing and introducing new products. Maybe you want to use the current brand structure and the current traditional data for brands, and you want to create some new products that you want to dynamically bundle to those brands. And you can start working on that through the catalog. So no matter where you are in your journey, the catalog can provide value to you now, today. With that said, this is the end of our presentations for today. I want to leave you just with that final note, though. I really just want to reiterate that the catalog isn't just for the end state. It offers value now to every single airline in this room, no matter where you are on your journey. Thank you.